Good afternoon. If you've been here for a while, you know that this pediatrician is obsessed with helping women and literally everybody reverse metabolic disease with joyful medicine. So I'm Dr. Jen. Stick with me. I'm going to give you some tips on how to approach this. But first, why? Why is a pediatrician worried about diabetes in adults, prediabetes in adults, insulin resistance in adults? Well, truthfully, the reason is I practiced pediatric intensive care medicine for many years, close to 20 years, and I've been a pediatrician for close to 30 years. And over the trajectory of my career, I have seen more and more young children, children of all ages, present with adult type diseases, at least what we used to call adult diseases, diabetes, prediabetes, obesity, we call it the disease. And truthfully, to help children, I have to help adults. And even more of a reason is the way that we approach this disease is these diseases is from a place of abundance of restriction and discipline and fear. And often children get this messaging. And in order to change the trajectory, change the narrative, to create a ripple effect, if I can help adults understand what's happening and create sustainable habits that are joyful and that honor their life and are weight inclusive and culturally inclusive, then I can create a ripple effect and reach the children because usually children aren't grocery shopping. Children take their cues from what we do as adults. Children learn from us, learn from what they hear, what they sense. And so much of what we can do is model good behavior, but also once we understand really what's underlying and the positive steps we can take, when we can let go of fear ourselves and we can use some foundational things to heal, we can make all the difference in the world. So a few examples. This really is present for me right now because I was at work yesterday. I saw a child that I found out was had grasso. I learned has fatty liver disease, and I was seeing him for belly pain. He came in for I was evaluating, yeah, evaluating him, and doing the workup for that. This was an urgent care, and I asked about past medical history, things like that, and I found out that he had fatty liver and he follows the specialist. And so I asked what steps, that they are taking otherwise. And mom, mentioned, I tell him no more McDonald's and, how to avoid certain things. And really the thing is so much of what children hear is the negative, right? And to me, it's not of when you only take things away instead of filling the void with something positive, then at least this feeling of, well, you're taking something away from me, number one, makes them fearful. But number two, it always creates this tension of, well, I can't have that. Well, I have to sneak it. And I don't think anybody should feel that anything is off limits. Really, the power is with healing is actually providing those foundations. So foundational foods, movement that you're going to do every day, making sure you're having restorative sleep, connecting with nature, these basic lifestyle principles. And I approach them in that way, abundance, because when we look all around us, nature is abundant. So can we teach our children the abundance of nature and connecting with nature and recognizing that they need to have more of the things that are healing, and that's the foundation. And so for this family, I did talk about these things. I gave some clear tips and steps to take, and there were things that they'd never heard of before. Food wise, the recommendations I've made, the only recommendations that they were left with were what they should avoid. And I think that that's a real detriment. I think that there's a gap. I mean, I understand that there's not a lot of uh, nutrition education available, resources are limited, but I think how the culture of how we approach this is wrong as well. And if we can, again, if I can help families understand, if I can help women reverse their metabolic disease, then they are teaching their families, and we can create a ripple effect and maybe prevent it for future generations. Because the way that we're going, it's only increasing. So yeah, that's one big one. Another big one is this fear of food, this fear of this restriction, this idea that losing weight is the key, the answer to every single question. which is so frustrating to me because which I'm not going to get into now, but the studies don't show that. They don't show that losing weight is the answer to everything. They show that losing weight is a side effect of some things, but it's not the answer. And so when children hear this, growing children need to eat so they can grow and thrive, so that their brains have energy, so that they can, you know, thrive during the day. But when they get this message, this restricted message, this message about dieting, it's really detrimental. And diet, nutrition is important, but how we approach it is so important as well. And so that is another huge reason. So I had a patient that I was seeing in urgent care again, came in for dizziness, and the child was dizzy. Mom said, well, she said to the child, tell her why you're dizzy. What are you doing? He was skipping meals. He wasn't eating breakfast or lunch. He was only eating dinner because he was diagnosed with prediabetes, and the message that he got was that he needed to control it, and his way of controlling it was this restriction. Now, I'm sure he didn't make it up out of nowhere. He may have gotten it on social media. He may have heard something or inferred something from what the doctor said. I'm not sure exactly, but we talked about why this is important. And I think, again, the messaging that we need to share with children is important. We need to share with adults is important. The approach of restriction is not helpful. The approach of abundance is helpful because often, if we can focus on the things that are healing again, on building that foundation of things that are going to help the body reverse disease, because the body is always trying to heal provided we give it the right information and the right nourishment, the body will revert to healing. And that's really the key. So those are just two examples of some of the things that I encounter in my life as a pediatrician and why I have approached this uh, way of helping adults. I'm even more motivated because the things that I hear, the messaging I hear from women in midlife is the same thing. And it's just something that's carried throughout, throughout, all the way through. Our messaging is restriction, discipline, lose weight, count every macro, count everything, track everything. And truthfully, as humans, we're not machines. We have great technology, and technology can be very helpful, but technology should be a tool. The primary thing is again leaning into these foundational principles. So that is what I like to focus on. This is what I think is my mission as a pediatrician, is to draw those connections between, food, movement, stress, human connection, helping my patients understand what that means, but also understanding what the foundation is that actually helps reverse disease, and giving them agency, giving them the power back so that they understand and they feel confident in their body's ability to heal, but confident in their decisions that they're making towards their body, and confidence in their control over their health and their destiny. And that's really important because, yeah, you can have a family history of diabetes, you can have a strong genetic, component, but the key is lifestyle. The lifestyle that we teach, the lifestyle that we carry forward is actually more predictive of health or disease than the actual genetics, because the genetics is there, but something needs to turn on the genetics or turn off the genetics. And so that is how I got here as a pediatrician, in helping, women in midlife reverse prediabetes, because again, this is critical for the health of our children and grandchildren and the future. So I have a program called the Nourished Path, which starts in a couple of days. And if you want to learn more about it, the goal of the program is to teach these connections and the foundational principles that really apply to the whole family. But really, once we understand these things, again, if we can make these connections, if we can start doing these foundational things day after day, then they compound and they result in healing and reversing disease and preventing disease and helping our children understand. Because as we can set the tone for what is appropriate, which unfortunately modern life has removed, has pulled us farther and farther away from what is foundational, should be what we do every day. If we can do that, then we really are winning. And yeah, it's really a matter of getting back to the basics. And these things seem so simple, And it makes you think that maybe they're not significant, but they really are the key. They're the guiding principles. They're the things that when people around the world do without thinking about it, that communities around the world do because it's just innate because their communities support healing. Unfortunately, we're not in communities that support healing. The United States has gotten farther from that, and we have to actively try to recover that. And that is what the nourished path is about, is recovering those foundations, connecting the dots between what we do every day, the effects of the world around us, and how we can start to set up these environments for healing, create a foundation for healing in our body and our mind and our communities, and thrive going forward. So the Nourished Path starts tomorrow. It's $197. It's 5 days of lessons, a plethora of supportive materials, but really the most powerful thing is the control of your health and understanding of what it takes to promote health in your body and your family's body as well. Hopefully you'll join me. I'll post the link below. If you have more questions, feel free to comment on this video. Otherwise, make sure to subscribe and follow and share it with anybody that knows. I always here at least once a week making videos. I make frequent shorts about this topic of metabolic disease and reversing metabolic disease and the steps, simple steps that you can start doing every day to make a change. So thank you for watching.